Good morning, and welcome to the DFS Army YouTube channel. I'm Razzle, and you can find me on X at Razzle11Grinds. Going to take a look at today's World Series Game 1 matchup. We get Blake Snell taking on Trey Yesevich. I will be looking at DraftKings, as that is where a majority of my action is. The bats are all similar, since FanDuel now charges you 1.5x the salary at the top spot, so similar to DraftKings. The only thing is FanDuel, you don't use the pitchers at all yet. Very interesting matchup. Toronto, the home team, home field advantage in this World Series. Some stark contrast in matchups, right? Like Blake Snell, an elite strikeout guy, just been dominant, taking on a team that just does not strike out at all. 64 strikeouts for the Blue Jays in 11 postseason games so far. Less than 6 strikeouts per game. It's just a ridiculous number. Don't have the Dodgers numbers memorized off the top of my head, but in contrast, I believe the Dodgers have played 10 postseason games so far, and they have struck out 93 times. 29 more strikeouts in one less game for the Dodgers this postseason than the Blue Jays. So like I mentioned, big contrast in the offensive attack. And honestly, both teams are just hitting home runs, right? The Dodgers, 13 of them in 10 games. And I believe Toronto was at 14 home runs in 11 games. Oh, no, 20 home runs. My bad. I was way off on that one. 20 home runs. So, Toronto's just not striking out at all and hitting a bunch of home runs in the postseason. Now, I do believe that they had more home runs in their first series against Detroit. Now I have to look. Thought their home run numbers went down a little bit. They did hit more home runs against Seattle in 7 games, 11 of them. That means they hit 9 in 4 games against Detroit. So their home run rate kind of came down a little bit. Strikeout rate stayed about the same. 40 strikeouts in 70 games against Seattle. So what does that do? Makes Blake Snell super interesting, right? 30 plus fantasy points in 5 of his last 6 starts. Been absolutely dominant in 3 postseason starts so far. 30 plus fantasy points in each of the 3. 9 plus strikeouts. 6 hits allowed across 21 innings. 1 rough 4 walk performance, but then followed it up with a 0 walk. Walks, huge issue for Blake Snell. Doesn't really give up home runs. So that means his runs kind of happen because of the walk issues. If you can avoid that, I think he has the stuff to strike out enough. He did make 1 start against Toronto during the season, absolutely dominated them. 10 strikeouts in 5 innings, over 31 fantasy points. Kind of fits into the theme here. He is pitching on the road where he hasn't been as good. His walk rate is a lot lower, though, which is definitely a plus thing for him. But he does allow more hits per inning, and did allow more runs and home runs. But, just 3 home runs allowed. It's not very many. On the other side, we get Trey Yesevich, the rookie, who's now pitched basically in every level for Toronto this season. Not quite every level. He wasn't in rookie ball or anything, but the ascent has been phenomenal. I talked about it before the game against Seattle on the 19th. That first start against them, he did end up giving up 5 runs, but 2 of those came after he was out of the game. I get it. They still get charged to him, yes, but they aren't completely his fault. So really, he just made 1 mistake, and that was to J-Rod in the first inning, allowing a 3-run home run. He did make a little bit of a mistake against Seattle the next time, but he managed to pick up the W and kind of controlled it after that, and strikeouts bounced back. It's a very interesting spot for Savage. The reason it's interesting is he's mainly a 2-pitch pitcher. He does have, it's 3-pitch, right? Like, he does have a slider. The slider's super weird in that it's a slider that breaks vertically. It's basically straight up and down. It's really weird, a really weird pitch. I need to dig into and see how he throws it because it's just wild to me. So it'll take the Dodgers a little bit to get used to that, but the Dodgers do have some guys that can hit sliders. And the big thing is they have a bunch of left-handed bats that crush splitters. And Savage throws the splitter a ton to left-handed bats. It's the biggest matchup, in my opinion, in this game one, is how the Dodgers do against the splitter of Savage. If he does struggle with it, the Dodgers could put up some runs early. I'm a Savage fan, so I want to see him perform decently, but this feels like a Dodgers left-handed bat clinic. There is one right-handed bat that really stands out to me, and I'll kind of get to him as I break down some of the hitters. But on the other side for Blake Snell, it's actually a pretty decent matchup. As long as he doesn't have to sit and throw his fastball a lot. He does have to deal with Springer and Bichette if he's in the lineup. Vlad's decent as well. Kirk can be alright, but he's so-so. It's really Springer that stands out the most as the toughest matchup. Bichette can hit some of the off-speed stuff, but I would guess just attack him with four-seamers since he hasn't been, in a game for a while. We don't know that he's going to be in the starting lineup for sure either. There were talks that he's just going to be some glorified pinch hitter as well, but Snell certainly has the better route to success here in terms of pitch profiling in the matchup. When it comes to relief pitchers, very interesting because I think there are clear guys to use. On the Dodgers side, it's Sasaki as the closer. So if you think they win game one, which like most people probably do, Sasaki's the best arm out of the bullpen from the closing standpoint. Blake Treinen, probably going to be used a ton in this series, has been used in 7 of 10 games so far for the Dodgers, so he makes a lot of sense. Vesia, he's not on the roster, and he was not placed on the family medical emergency list. So we have to see if he's moved to that list or not. So he's out for sure for game one. Dodgers-wise, I think it's Sasaki and Treinen. Like, there's other guys that can be used, but I just don't really trust them at all. And I don't think we need to. As far as the Toronto side, like, there's one thing we can probably bet on. Louis Varland's going to see the mound a lot. He's thrown in 10 of the 11 postseason games for Toronto so far. It's a lot for the young arm. But, he's doing pretty well. He has allowed 4 home runs in the postseason. All 4 solo home runs, but still. Plenty of upside. Makes a ton of sense. Jeff Hoffman, a ton of upside as the closer for the Blue Jays. 3 straight really strong performances from a fantasy point number. So there is upside in using Hoffman if you do think they pick up the win. I wouldn't really expect him to be in the game if they are trailing at all at any point. Sir Anthony Dominguez has been used 7 times in the postseason as well. He's a guy that has postseason and World Series experience. Problem is he's walking a lot of guys, but he can have some strong performances. I do think they need somebody else to step up, so I think Dominguez could. Otherwise, you're going to see Toronto use these lefties, Brendan Little, Fluharty. I think those are the only 2 main ones. Lauer probably could be in play, but I'm not. He's probably priced like a starter for all I know. Yeah, still priced like a starter, so I don't want to rely on him. Toronto does use lefties, or they do have lefty access in their bullpen. Be interesting to see what they have for the postseason or the World Series roster, which should be coming out any minute as I'm recording this. The Dodgers roster obviously just dropped. We do know that Bichette is going to be on the Blue Jays roster as well. But those are the relief pitchers that I'm considering. I don't want to get too wide, for Game 1. It's not an empty out the bullpen type of play. Ty France making the World Series roster as well. That's very interesting because he could be in the lineup Game 1. All depending on what they do with Springer and Bichette as far as DH goes, because they did say that Springer could be used in the outfield in the World Series. So what if Ty France gets the start right away against Blake Snell? Very interesting at 3K on this slate. I did talk about some of the pitching, or the hitting against pitching. Like I mentioned, the left-handed bats against Chavez are going to be huge. Snell, I really don't want lefties. I don't really like Varsho in a left-on-left. Barger probably won't be in the lineup for a left-on-left. Lucas probably won't even be in the lineup for a left-on-left. So I'm not sure if Jimenez is going to be or not. There's a chance he is, just based on his defense, and they don't have enough right-handed bats. It really depends on what they're going to do. They could have Schneider play the infield, so maybe Jimenez isn't in it either. You could see a lineup full of right-handed bats for the Blue Jays. And the fact they don't strike out, like I mentioned, a lot. But I mention a lot because I want to drive it home. That's a tough spot. When you have a team putting the ball in play all the time, at some point, good things are going to happen for Toronto. My favorite bat for Toronto is Springer. Profiles super well against Snell. Alejandro Kirk feels like a decent guy. And then Ernie Clement's a guy we've been using against left-handed pitching much of the season. So those guys are going to be my preferences. On the Dodgers side, Andy Pages probably going to be somebody I want to be overweight on. Max Muncy. Will Smith kind of feels sneaky. And then Ohtani and Freeman. Obviously, Freeman dominated in the World Series last year. Ohtani struggled a lot in the World Series last year. Ohtani has actually struggled a lot in this postseason, aside from a 3-homer game. People kind of forget that he had been struggling quite a bit prior to that. So, it is very interesting. Obviously, people are going to want to jam in Ohtani. I might be playing Ohtani too. It's not like I won't. He profiles really well in this spot. But we kind of have to make some concessions, right? We can't play Blake Snell with Ohtani and Springer and Freeman. If we're going to, I don't even know if we can. Because I just don't know that we're going to have the ability to use anybody. You have to use a bench guy or Andres Jimenez, and that won't even probably work. Ty France, right? If he's in the lineup, you can't really do this. So we do have to make some concessions and, live with being slightly wrong and just hope that the construction works out correctly. Utilizing one relief pitcher certainly going to help. Deciding to punt with one of the random guys that end up in the starting lineup could pay off. Problem is Miles Straw is only going to be in the game for as long as Blake Snell is. But you also expect Snell to dominate, and Straw isn't some dynamic offensive player. So you're kind of expecting a zero. Ty France could make sense. Kiner Falefa, I don't like it, but maybe he's in the lineup for as long as Snell's out there. I'm not sure. It makes it really tough because there isn't that many punt guys either. Jimenez, Pages, Schneider, Kike. Those guys aren't really all that punty in this aspect because we need guys that are cheaper than that. But there we have it. There's my breakdown of World Series Game 1. If you enjoy what I bring to you, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell on, get the alert anytime we drop videos here at DFS Army. If you want to join us, get access to our coaches, tools, sheets, Discord, etc., I will drop links in the description below. You can use promo code RAZ, that's R-A-Z, for 10% off monthly. And I will drop a link to our merch store. You can check it out. Check out my hoodie and all the other designs. Best of luck, everybody.